Hello, everybody. Welcome to Cybersalon and welcome to 59th Arts Birthday. So today we are celebrating Arts Birthday, which is a global creativity festival founded in 1963 by French artist Robert Filot. And the reason why he founded it, he proposed a public holiday because he thought that art in the age of engineering, art gets shoved away, forgotten, and not loved as much as it should do. So since obviously we're all technologists, but we all love art, just as Steve Jobs did, and he was a very big man in technology, we decided to support the event a few years ago, and this is our second one, and it's growing every year. So to put it in the context, in 1963, it was a year of big protests. That's when the protests against Vietnam War was really developing, and that's where a lot of activities were in the human rights movement against racial discrimination. So it was a big year. And we felt that that was the right thing to do for Cybersalon, because we have always been campaigning for digital rights, for future digital rights for us all. And it just fitted because we're affiliated with creative degree, BA in digital media, which Stefan Lutzinger is involved in, and which is also Simon Sarginson alma mater, my co-host of today. And we're also affiliated to Westminster University with the politics department, which is one of the departments that Richard Babrock is involved. So we kind of always been on the edge of digital and political activity. So campaigning, but in the best technical way. A few years later, we're still campaigning, and there is still more and more problems to solve. So I'm very excited to see you all today. It's been fantastic to co-produce that event with Simon. So let's just get to a few introductions. We wanted to make it a very global event. So we have people from different countries or people who are here who originate from different countries. So kind of trying to fight the international corner because as Raul Espejo said in our last Cybersalon Christmas lecture, nation states are not going to solve our climate change, COVID, or any other problems. We have to go international. So maybe starting in the sequence how we will play today, if I can just start from the introductions to John Horsley. So John, can you just say a few words about yourself? You're on mute.
Hi there. Hi, Eva. Really pleased to be taking part today. Art's birthday, brilliant. I'm glad there's a day for such. Apparently there's a donut day as well. And as you know, I've got a website, Digital Donut. But yeah, really looking forward to taking part and having fun. And I think that's probably what it's all about.
Yeah, uniting creativity, because you are a photographer by background, right? So you have many different arrows to your bow.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, originally I started out as a photographer and did a lot of music work and some advertising stuff, less shady, cool brands.
And then you moved to music over the last few years and particularly over COVID, right? So we will talk about it later as COVID catalyzed creativity period for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, brilliant. And then the second will be handing over to Sasha, to Hypnoton in Moscow. So Sasha, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm just, making music and also teaching in the last few years. I teach in music production school, which is an interesting experience. And I also do generative kind of music stuff, as well as developing some stuff on Max for Life, which I basically amuse myself with. So I don't know what else really.
You're based in Moscow, right? You're based in
yeah,
in the capital of all evil.
Well, if you say so.
Yeah, we've got very good Russian connections. We always worked with Russian-based artists in St. Petersburg and Moscow. And over the last few years, it was just getting harder and harder to get people here and for us to go there. So I'm hoping today that we will put good vibes into the atmosphere and make
Let's do it.
international collaboration go back to where it should be.
Yeah.
Right, so that was Sasha, and then Lucy from Heavy Lifting.
Hi Eva, my name's Lucy. For anyone who doesn't know me, I'm a musician, primarily using algorithmic techniques, live coding and stuff to make music. My solo project is called Heavy Lifting, and that's what we will be seeing today. And yeah, just very happy to be here celebrating Art's birthday, and I'm really looking forward to the stream.
Fantastic. And you're based in exotic Sheffield, right?
Very exotic Sheffield, yeah. So the north of England, for people who
tip of the hat for our northern soul brothers.
Exactly.
Although you're originally a Londoner, right?
I'm from London, yeah. I'm from Deptford in southeast London. That's where I grew up. But I've lived in Sheffield 10 years now, so I think this is my home.
You count as northern lass. Okay.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, fantastic. And then Ryan from Poe.
Hi Eva, hi everyone. I am dialing in from exotic Essex in my shed at the bottom of the garden. That's where I am, but I'm originally from Scotland. I'm more on the brand and marketing side rather than the tech side. But 20 odd years ago, I started off as a journalist up in Scotland. That was my day job. And then in the evenings, I was DJing and running clubs in Scotland in the early 90s. And I pretty much carried that on for the past 20 years and run this night POV in London, which is a vinyl only night. So that's something that we launched just before COVID. We did one event, and then we had 3 events booked in for last year, and they all got cancelled. So we only managed to squeeze in one around about November.
I know, actually, I was so upset because I missed the first one because I was skiing, and I was like, I'll make the next one, and then boom, bloody COVID comes in. But we shall live and reconvene on that.
Exactly.
Okay, fantastic. And then after Ryan, we'll have Dan. Dan, can you introduce yourself?
Hiya. So I'm Dan. I'm based in London. I'm a software engineer by profession. And a friend of Cybersalon, and I'm a little bit sort of out of place. I haven't really done much live music performance, but more the closest I've touched it is on the maybe data processing side for like video processing. So much more of the boring side of things, but I do like a challenge, and I also just like a hobbyist video games developer on the side. So it's fun to try new things and just be a part of something. And I think especially for me, like, last year I was just saying how there's been a lot of people who have been quite bored, and so I think it's a really good opportunity to try experimental music, because boredom inspires a bit of creativity.
We don't say boredom, we say low noise.
Lunos. That's a really pleasant way of describing.
Low noise is a very creative environment. Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. And then also we've got Alex Scott.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Alexis Scott, and I'm coming to you from Hackney. So I've been kind of DJing and dabbling in a little bit of music production for about 15 years or so. And I guess it started with when I was studying physics about 20 years or so ago now. And I think going out dancing was always, it's most people's favorite part of the week, but it wasn't necessarily just the music. It was also, kind of going to new places, meeting new people. There was something about it almost being like a little holiday, even if you're still in your own town. And I know I've really missed not being able to do that during the pandemic. I found that quite tough going, to be honest. But at the same time, it was interesting, not, kind of change, being forced into changing routines and trying to find that kind of sense from other places. And I think my kind of relationship with, trying to produce music and, DJing in some senses has been, kind of trying to see where, what is its relationship to that sense of adventure. So it's been quite interesting kind of reevaluating that from home, as it were. But yeah. So anyway, very excited to be joining you tonight.
Oh, fantastic. So good to see you. But you're originally not pure Brit, right? You have a touch of Southern Mediterranean spirit.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm half Croatian. Yeah, so I've kind of done a few parties out there on a couple of beaches, which was a bit of a crazy adventure in the end, but it was fun doing it. But yeah, it was quite tough going to begin with. But yeah.
Okay, so that would be the destination for the Arts Birthday summer events.
Yeah, absolutely.
By the beach.
Biannual.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, great. And then we can go to Irina, who is in Glasgow, but originally...
Oh yeah, probably a nice surprise for Ryan. Yeah, I'm currently at Glasgow Airport, traveling back to London. Yeah, quite an unusual place for an introduction on Zoom, but there we go. I'm a music journalist, and partly that's the reason why I came here to interview one person who started his fanzine back in the 70s. And I've been doing the research on fanzines as well. Yeah, but the reason I'm participating on this panel today is I have been working on a sequence of tracks for a 3D spatial audio project initiated by Middlesex University. So I'll be presenting some sketches that I did that project tonight. And yeah.
Fantastic. We will talk a lot more about it, but it's a soundtrack to a possible game. So we have game builders here and soundtrack makers. So I can see something might happen at the end of this program. And we just wanted to dedicate Irina's part to our co-founder, Amin Medosh, who co-founded Cybersalon with us back in 1997. And unfortunately, he passed away quite young. But he always was a very big believer in combining technology, creativity, and using history to forward the path to the future. He actually wrote a beautiful book called New Directions about digital art in Yugoslavia. So that's something, Alex, you might be interested in.
Interesting, yeah, definitely.
It was huge in 80s. We didn't even know that it was happening here. So yeah, so this is the piece which, because Irina's piece is about underworld, and we are waving to Amy, who is probably walking around and looking at us from afar and above. Okay, great. So without further ado, we can move to the musical part. So Simon, I think the first one we're kicking off with is John, and his performance can start now.
Work my body, 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 work my 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 work 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 body. My body, work my body, work my
It has not been possible to connect your call. It has not been possible to connect your call. It has not been possible to connect your call. It has not been possible to connect your call. not been possible to connect your call. It has not been possible to connect your call. It has not been possible to connect your call.
Thank you very much, Irina. Thank you very much, everybody. It was just such a beautiful journey through so many different moods and experiments and explorations. So very, very exciting to see how you spent your COVID. I can see that everybody was terribly productive. So hold on, let me just mute. So yeah, so we just wanted to spend a few minutes to pick up the themes as we were discussing when you were playing. And for me, the most exciting thing is that you guys did such incredible amount of work in last year. And the last couple of years were actually pretty damn productive. So the theme for today, for the Arts Birthday in general, was new beginnings. And I think it was because a lot of people who play live really didn't like being stuck at home. I know my daughter, who's a DJ, really didn't like having to move to computers, but somehow most people found their way, and the future will probably more of a mix of real life play and working online and collaborating online. So just a few questions to each of you, maybe starting from Irina, because I know you were actually moving for the real universe on airports. So if we can catch you before you've got to go. So how was the COVID impacting or being a catalyst for your creativity? How would you assess its impact?
I'll just wait until the trolley passes.
Don't worry.
Okay, yeah, now it's the moment, I think.
We will treat it as a sound arts from Glasgow.
A soundtrack from the airport. Well, I wouldn't say I was really stuck at home during the pandemic, during the lockdown, because I was in Reykjavik, and there was no real kind of lockdown in Reykjavik, so you could still go wherever you want. Of course, many places were shut down, but it still felt more or less there was more freedom in Iceland during lockdown than in many other places in the world. But I think for me, music was a way to reach out to people whom I couldn't communicate with. Of course, there were various kind of digital communication, but there was no personal communication, obviously. So I used my music as a tool to express what I wanted to say to those people. So there are quite a few videos on my YouTube channel under the name of my music project, which is Miss Naivety. So if you're interested, you can check this one out and see some of those videos that I recorded in my room on Hringbroit, which is a street in Reykjavik, and it was a very productive time because there was enough time to concentrate on my emotions and to, without overthinking, just to express pure emotion and to communicate with the world by means of music, which was great.
Well, which I guess is what music is for. But did you find Iceland a fertile place for inspiration, or right?
Yeah, sure. That's why I think Icelandic music scene is gives an answer to this question. Really, the whole tradition of Icelandic popular music, starting from many 60s bands, Icelandic punk music, like bands like Ham and Dr. Spock, then contemporary Icelandic music. It's so diverse. It's much more than a few names that we all know, like York, Sigur Rós, and Moon. So yeah, Iceland has been a very fertile place for musicians, for sure.
Okay, fantastic. So sounds like we should do a long weekend, and you're going to guide us through all the right places, right?
I'm looking forward to that, of course.
Oh, I desperately need to go to Reykjavik and have a long night, which ends up with drinking from sheep's head. That should be quite fun. Okay, so we can move on to John. You had incredible pandemic. You had like a super creative pandemic, from what I can see.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, some sides haven't been fantastic, right? But yeah, I mean, I guess one of the coping mechanisms, as it were, was becoming a lot more creative during that that part of time, and just dialing up things a lot more. The music that I normally make is a little bit more sort of soundscapey, more sort of filmic and kind of atmospheric. And I guess during that period of time, things became almost sort of, I don't know, you could look deeper inside yourself, I guess, to a certain extent, and have time to reflect and almost be sort of autobiographical to a certain extent and kind of draw on things. So I was in this room here transporting myself to movies that were, I guess, in my mind and creating the soundtracks to those.
So the Longshore Drift is the more ambient.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we will put the links to it after. Fantastic, because you did a lot of work right away when COVID started. You were off to the races like in month one.
Well, I think, the start of it was you're going out for a walk every day, aren't you, I guess, because that's what you're allowed, a bit of yard time. But you realize, well, certainly if you live in the inner city, as it were, the walk is the same walk every fucking day. So I wanted to make
like
it
Groundhog Day.
Myself, even walking it backwards or walking it any other way, it's the same walk. So I started taking quite a lot of photos and then playing with those photos and just trying to entertain myself and I guess watch the nature and watch how things changed over that period of time, because that, putting that sort of magnifying glass on things really helped. Otherwise it would have been pretty tedious, I think.
Yeah, so the combination between your photography and your ambient music, that's probably where it came together, right? Because you did a lot of pictures.
Yeah, and also a lot of paintings and like painting on the iPad and I hadn't actually painted physically for probably best part of 25 to 30 years. So it was really nice as well. Then, you know, kind of progressing from there and actually kind of doing paintings out in the, you know, out in the garden on canvases and things like that.
Yeah, it was great work. I've seen your show in the pub on the art show that Leytonstone did, which was fabulous.
Yep. Thanks. That was nice to take part in that. It's just really good to bring the community together, isn't it? If you can get involved in things that kind of bring people together, make them happy, kind of people can enjoy themselves, is, you know, is just always fantastic.
Yeah, Leytonstone was quite lively, I have to say. Not everywhere in London was quite as lively as there. So it really came to its own with, you know, art in pubs and art outside and lots of, yeah, it was really, really nice to see it.
Yeah, it's become much more of a creative kind of neighborhood. I guess people are getting forced out further and further out of, you know, places like Shoreditch in the past. So yeah.
Man, Shoreditch was dead. Shoreditch was dead, and we've got an office there, and it was just us and the local Bengalis running around. It was very, very uncreative. It still is, because the techies work from home, right? Okay, fantastic. I'm really glad you had a good time. I watched your work over the last couple of years, and I think you were an inspiration to us all, to say the least.
Thank you. I'm flattered. That's so nice of you.
No, wonderful. Okay, so we can move to Ryan. How was your pandemic and Archie experience? You were incredibly productive. I couldn't catch up with you. It was like stream every day.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I don't think I've DJed so much since in my early 20s. That was the craziness of it. But I think they. I mean, it's still, you know, a pandemic. We're still in it, sure. And I think it's full of contradictions and ironies, because in one way, at the beginning of the pandemic, it was all about isolation and loneliness, and you didn't quite know what to do with yourself, and everything was kind of taken away from you. And I think that was the hardest thing to kind of come to terms with at the beginning. But then through social media, through digital, they then started growing this kind of sense of community, certainly on the music side, the DJ side, the production side, the creative side. And I didn't naturally, it was you, Eva, that first got me to do a live stream for one of your events on Twitch. You know, what was that, 2 years ago or something, or just under 2 years ago. And I found it very awkward for months and months and months, because if when you're DJing in bars and clubs, it's all about emotion. You're reacting to the crowd and the audience. And here I was doing these bloody live streams, just, you know, in shed at the bottom of the garden, just me and four walls. And I just couldn't kind of relate to that. It took a while, you know, to kind of get into the swing of doing live streams virtually, digitally, and not having, you know, people in front of you to see that human reaction. But over time, that reaction started coming through the chats, and then, you know, private DMs from people, and everyone's like had their own struggles with you know, COVID. And there was a lot of there was actually quite a lot of, you know, artists and DJs that reached out privately on DMs with like mental health issues and depression. So, you know, struck up a lot of friendships with people all around the world that would have probably never had just, you know, from, you know, being in a bar in London and playing a set and then disappearing. But this kind of ongoing sense of community, everyone kind of there for each other. I found that really powerful over the past, you know, year and a half to 2 years. And it's just really grown from that, made a lot of, you know, good virtual social friends through, you know, what we've been doing, you know, with POV and in our kind of, you know, live streams, and then just my own stuff as well, just meeting interesting people from around the world.
Yes, in many ways, the low noise time and London being so quiet gave space to filling in with creativity. I think I could see that with also the direction you took, because you kind of explore different directions and don't stick to one type. You've got quite a wide range.
I think, yeah, you're right. It's kind of, it forced you, or it gave you the freedom to experiment, research, and discover even more, and just keep trying new things, which has been really, exciting. But I don't want to use the word exciting during such, you know, a terrible time, really.
No, I know it's the
many
difficulty.
people.
But you know, it's difficult. Like some of us here are from Eastern Europe. You know, my mother always says it's all fine until you have Russian or German tanks on your lawn.
Yeah.
She was through having both. So, you know, like it's not quite as bad as it could be. It's just a bit of strange environment, but we're not in a war. So we should just take it easy and be sensible about it. Okay, brilliant. So can I move on to Lucy? Because you had unbelievable last couple of years. I mean, you've been everywhere, right?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't go so many places during the pandemic, but yeah, have got around a bit.
Yeah, so you're using very interesting tools. Can you take us a little bit through what is your work setup and how you work?
Yeah, so today I was using a piece of software called Tidal Cycles, which was made by my friend Alex McLean,
yes, he played for us last year. So
yeah, he's
very
amazing.
very pleased that you made it today, because it's a lovely continuity from his performance last year. So thank you very much.
Yeah, well, no, thank you so much for having me. And I mean, Alex is amazing. He's actually working on a new language at the moment called Vortex, which is based in Python. So I've seen him perform with it once, but it's very new. It's quite exciting. But Alex built Tidal Cycles for himself. So he wanted to be able to write a small amount of code to make music with live, and he didn't find a tool out there that suited him, so he made Tidal Cycles. Now lots of other people use it as well, and it's basically a sequencer, but it's a very, very customizable sequencer, so you can really, your imagination is your limit in terms of what you can do with it. So today I was just using some samples, but often I will use like hardware synths and stuff as well. So I will write lines of code that will send, say, a MIDI pattern to a synthesizer. And it's really, what I really like about Tidal is it's very easy to create like a very complex rhythm in a way that maybe using traditional music making software you would struggle. And it also, there's like an element of unpredictability because of your like level of abstraction from the code. So when I'm playing, I'm always improvising, and I might have like an idea of how something sounds, but once you start to combine different functions together, it quickly becomes very difficult to predict exactly what it's going to sound like. So what I'm aiming for is more like a kind of texture or a feel, and I will like tweak stuff along those lines rather than thinking about composing music in a like traditional kind of linear way. So yeah, I think Tidal's a really lovely tool in that it just encourages you to experiment and to think about music in a way that a lot of tools don't, and to break out of some kind of traditional sense of like, okay, I have a 4/4 time signature and I have bars and I have beats. It actually doesn't really think about time in those ways, which I find really inspiring.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Can we move on to Sasha, because Sasha writes his own tools as well. So Hypnoton, are you still there?
Yeah, sure. Evil.
Winding you up.
Yeah, well, what's the question?
Yeah, because we were talking about the tools, right? So Lucy,
yeah, the tools.
She was explaining how in a way, the tool defines a little bit of a direction, right? Because it gives you certain affordances.
Absolutely.
You are very, very tools driven, right? You do your own stuff as well.
Yeah, basically my tool creation comes from MPC sampler, which I've phased through an algorithm machine which has an ability to sample, and the stuff I exposed today was written on the software I did, and basically it's a generative software, but it's not fully generative, like it needs a human interference. Yeah, it's an instrument for me, as much as if you maybe know or search for Raymond Scott development. There was this guy who was American composer for advertisement in the early 60s. He made this instrument called, I don't remember what it's called, but it was generative, but needed a human interaction as well. So basically, I'm gonna even share a screen to show you what's going on here. Can you see?
Yep.
Yeah, you basically have 8 channels and 8 independent sequencers with own speed and time. And you can basically load a folder of samples. Why I was talking about MPCs, I never knew which samples I want to use, so I created an environment where you can just load a folder with samples, and then I have an ability to choose which channels I want to affect with the random button, which is basically loading me a random sample from the folder I put on one of the channels. And also there is like independent sequencers for speed sample playback. They are independent from like the step sequencer, which is giving, this thing Lucy was talking about, coming out of the box, sort of. Although it is attached to a BPM, which is kind of linking it to popular music. So my goal is to find this bridge between experimental music and popular music, I guess, as I was very inspired from my teenage experience with music from Aphex Twin, which I think made it very nicely, connecting the experimental and pop music. But talking about the generativity of the software, as long as I teach in production school, I show some generative stuff to my students, and I noticed that they are not very keen on using it because there is not too much input from them to create something. And I couldn't understand it for a long time, that I am comfortable using the generative software to make my own music because I've written this software. So
they found it limiting, they found it restricting.
They found that there is not too much input from them. They're, the ego, I guess, because music making involves ego, because I made it, I pushed the button, I played the note. It's important. So that's what I after 2 years of teaching, I figured out, and now I understand why generative kind of stuff is. I don't think it's fulfilling, like creatively fulfilling for people who didn't make the instrument. So this is we'll see what will happen next, but I guess you can't take it seriously anyway.
Okay, point taken. I make sure that we will work on the students in the as creative way as they can possibly have. So maybe I will take it back to Dan, because Dan, you are a bit of a newbie, right? Are you there, Dan?
Yeah. Let me put my video back on.
So do you find the tools restrictive, and are you tempted to write your own, or is it early days for you to?
You know what? It's really fascinating. You know what? I think now more than ever, I think it's been really exciting. I was saying before, going through and as someone who is completely new to this, going through and seeing how people who have a lot more experience in composing music and in particular experimental music, and just being able to share that experience. And I think what's interesting is, I think personally, I thought I had quite a sort of niche music taste, in the sense that I think we're getting to a point, and I had this discussion recently about, you know, it's really getting really difficult to create original content, because, you know, even though, you know, like Lucy was saying, it's like, you are restrictive in a whole conventional sense of when you compose music. People think it's very creative, but I sort of like to take it from the mathematical perspective, where I think, you know, there is a lot of studies. Yes, the music is subjective, but, you know, why is it that we have popular music? You know, there's kind of like a big resonance towards like certain like characteristics, and yeah, obviously some types of people share it and other people don't. And I think I also share a lot of what you know, Hypnation, you know, was saying about creating something, you know, being able to create generative music. You know, as a software engineer, I've always found it quite interesting to be able to automate my workflow so that I can do as little work as possible.
Yeah, lazy.
Yeah, well, but the thing is, right, is I'm, as much as I love studying like machine learning algorithms, and I think this is kind of where generative content like tie in with like a lot of data, which is everyone at the moment uses a lot of like academic papers to base a lot of their tooling, and it becomes basically black box learning, where a lot of generative algorithms, you know, like there's a lot of work, I imagine, that goes into having to, you know, sift through a lot of bad content. And it's a particularly appealing to video games, because when I actually had this discussion with my partner on the game that I was working on last, which is, do we manually sculpt levels or do we procedurally generate them? And there's a really fascinating argument in games, because this has a really important impact on the player, very much like music has on the listener.
Yeah, so we have a question from Weil. So the ego conversation, do we think that the ego applies to all creativity or just to music? So I guess it's the question back to Sasha. Do you think the musicians have got bigger ego than other artists? No, I think we might have lost him. Yeah, we'll come back to that. Okay, so we're just moving on, because we've got to put the video from the Austrian guys. So Alexis, you are kind of on the other end of Dan. You had a very long interaction with music, many years. So what do you think about your tools? Have they changed? Have they matured?
Yeah, they definitely have. I mean, when I first started, it was, you know, having to lug kilos worth of vinyl records around, and, you know, I remember logging it to Croatia a few times, and that was just, you know, talk about suffering for your love. But yeah, I found it really fascinating when Traktor and, you know, kind of digital software came out, because I was completely self-taught, and you know, was making all sorts of mistakes playing on vinyl, and it sort of allowed a much greater sense of precision and a kind of quicker evolution in what I was able to come out with. And, you know, obviously I don't think I'd be in the same position I am now without it, interestingly. So it, you know, it just allowed me to bounce ideas off much more quickly than I think would have been possible otherwise. But at the same time, you know, I do understand when people say that's kind of, you know, it loses some of the rigor and the kind of honesty if you're getting a bit of a helping hand. But I still think it's what kind of comes out at the other end ultimately that matters, regardless of what kind of medium you're pumping, you know, pushing it out through.
Right. So were you tempted to write your own tools, or you're happy with what's available?
Yeah, I mean, my programming knowledge is, you know, too limited to be able to kind of get into making my own kind of synths or kind of software instruments. So I was kind of just using stuff I found off the shelf to kind of experiment with. But, you know, I would be tempted to kind of go down that avenue if I had my sort of time again, actually. But I kind of get too distracted by playing with what I have already to kind of invest the time at the moment, I think.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. I think Lucy is posting the question, why do we have popular music? So Lucy, do you want to elaborate on that?
Oh.
I like
yeah,
that.
just because, you know, Dan, you asked this question just while you were talking, and I think it's a really great question as to like why we have things that are like thematic or enjoyable. And I posted in our Zoom chat, maybe I'll put it in the Twitch chat as well, a link to a lecture I watched recently about whether there can be an idea of like global aesthetics. So if you can try to apply some like objective measures to aesthetics and art and creativity, so not just music in this in the context of the lecture, but obviously we're talking about music here. And I think I'm not going to try to paraphrase I'm not a philosopher, but she's a very esteemed philosophy professor talking in this video. And yeah, I'll stick the link in the Twitch chat, but it's very much worth watching if you're interested in this topic of, you know, what we share in a sense of like taste and personal aesthetics versus like what's popular and what are trends and what are global aesthetics.
Great. You know, I find it quite difficult actually to live without popular music, because I've noticed over the last sort of probably 10 years, everybody dived in their own particular hole, and we have very few references that we share. And as a culture, that's kind of a bit tricky. So yes, there is Adele, but you know, it's a bit of a Marmite. And beyond there is very, very decreasing amount of shareable stuff. So, but on the other hand, you know, I'm loving the fact that there's so much creativity and so many more artists making stuff. So yeah, it's kind of horses for courses, I guess. Alex, are you able to talk, or are you still on the baby duty? Can we have a quick chat with you? I don't want to interrupt your domestics, but I will have to chat to you. So
yeah, I can make an interlude appearance.
Yeah, just a quick one. Right. So you're based in Vienna, right? So what was Vienna experience like over lockdown? You guys did quite a lot of things anyway, right? You just carried on.
Yeah, I don't know. First year was good with fundings, overfunded everyone. And then in the second year, they paid us back, kind of. So it was more tricky. But the main outcome, I'm really tired of online now. So more before the pandemic. Yeah, and besides that, everyone's just carrying on somehow, I think.
But you like making your installations and your conceptual art, right? We're going to see your video in a minute.
Yeah. We made this video because we're aware that we couldn't make it live, but the video is also live, as you will see. It's totally live. And
I think your daughter is making a little appearance in that, right?
She has an appearance, yeah. She filmed everything, but yeah, we just show some performances we did on our installations. We did also some sound art, and yeah, much about AI, EI, and SI. This is different bio algorithms.
Wonderful. Well, we were very lucky to visit Vienna in the art gallery opening that Stefan kindly organized. So thank you, Stefan. Just probably a year before COVID. And it just struck me how many galleries and how rich cultural life Vienna has. And then I discovered you all got funding. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, we have to have day jobs to survive here. So
yeah, but
may it continue in Vienna. We need you
to the
system
come. Is a bit sick. So no one is able to survive without these fundings, and that's why it's not really paying off in the end, I would say.
Well, I hope it will change. So just the last one, if I can go to Simon, and then we'll go to your video. So Simon, you've been working super hard tonight on video layers. So do you just want to say something quickly about the tools you use, right? Because I can spot Hydra at work, but what else are you using? Are you there?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
No, I can hear you though.
We can hear you, but we can't see you, Simon.
Yeah, camera is gonna be.
Don't worry. Just
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. As for me, I take a very similar approach to Tidal Cycles with my visuals by using Hydra, which is like very much like a visual complement to that kind of strategy, where you kind of do something that's usually done like as a post-production thing, and kind of do it as a performative thing with a really expressive grammar, kind of like do a lot of experiments. There's a lot of serendipity. So yeah, basically just use Hydra. I did some of my own extensions on it, maybe like hooking up to MIDI, doing some CSS styling things, because I really love the feedback capability, especially where the editor itself becomes a sort of something that kind of throws into the visuals. Is wonderfully like self-referential, and yeah, in general, I'm really big fan of the idea of like, you know, programming this performance, because it's such a like a post-process thing, usually seen as a very long-term thing. Actually, you can design them to be, you know, really interesting and expressive, and you know, people can see what's going on. Maybe, you know, people are not experts in what you're writing, but like if you take a bit of time learning it, you can actually see what kind of ideas people are expressing, right? It's like, you know, the music analogy is like you see the music annotation as somebody's playing, basically, and the same is true with the visuals. You can see people kind of constructing it as they go along, and I think it's a really beautiful area for digital art to explore, and really novel, and yeah, that's why I use it.
Yeah, we love that. What is the learning curve, I would say, would you say, with Hydra from zero to kind of semi-competent? We're talking about months, years, decades?
I don't know. I mean, I don't really know if I can answer this question anymore. I've been like a programmer for quite a while. I wouldn't say it's particularly hard. Also, like it's, I put the link in chat at some point. There's a live version that's hosted on the website. So you can just have a toy with that. I don't think it's particularly difficult. You know, I think the entry is easy. Getting really fancy with it takes a bit more work. Certainly, if you want to expand it, you definitely like need to know a little bit more about programming. But I think still, even at a very playful level, is actually the barrier to entry is really, really low. And you know, I think Olivia did a really beautiful job at making this accessible and easy to use, where not all live coding tools are like that. Some of them require quite specialized setup because of the way they're done.
Okay.
But Hydra is a really,
maybe if you post it in the Twitch chat, so we can point people to that would be great. Okay, so I think that's probably us done. So we just wanted to show you the video that Art's birthday celebration was contributed from Vienna, from Alex and Paul. And then after that, we will hop on, we'll stay on Zoom, but we will be posting on Twitch John's live stream. So yes, so thank you very much for everything and your lovely creativity and your comments and your wisdom and the signposts how to stay creative in low noise, difficult circumstances. So very inspiring. And I wish everybody happy creative pandemic, whether it continues or
Dear people, happy Art's birthday! Yeah, welcome from Vienna. We're live and direct. We were told that traditionally we have to wear paper hats for Art's birthday for the celebration. It's like a little performance, and it's for the paper hats. First started already. Remind us of another celebration that's coming up in Austria, and that's Easter. And we had Easter eggs for a certain project last year. And with Easter eggs in this country, you do.
Well, it's not just an Easter egg. That's the magic Austrian eagle Easter egg, and we tried to crack them open for years. So we found them as a relic from the last. Performance. No, it was not a performance. It was a public intervention we did last year. So we still found those two. These are the last two ones we have here.
Right. And what you do with them is
you crack them.
Yeah. No, they're from concrete, as we told you. You can see in an image in the background how it looked originally. They were immediately stolen, of course, although they were fixed to the ground. And that's the magic of participation, a big topic in contemporary art for the past let's say 20 years.
At least in our lifespan.
Which leads us to another project that I wanted to do this year, which is called Action Sculpturing or Vandalism Square. You see the images in the background. I'm just talking over them because they're so contemporary and so modern. The idea of the project is that you just place stereometrical objects in a public space and then leave people working with them or realizing themselves with them. And action sculpturing, also the question whether it turns out as action sculpturing or Vandalism Square is up to the users. But of course,
direct in action.
Direct in action. Thank you.
Action
but
direct.
Of course, participation is not always desired, and so sometimes you also just want to look at the sea.
So this was the sea. You already had a vision of the sea last year, where it was not the seaside, but in a strange state of development. But actually we had enough time to finish the vision of the sea, so this was an excerpt of a video you saw at FESH, where the sea was displayed. And as the sea is a vast organism by itself, it can also kind of react as a sea monster or as a sea, sea element, which is strange. But due to this kind of artificial generator of the vast possibilities of the sea, we also thought about different bioalgorithms that appear and what could be done or how humans interact with these algorithms.
And I found one of these bioalgorithms last year in Italy, in Piedmont, and it's a perfect connection of sound and vision, and looks like this.
Doesn't work.
No, doesn't work. Okay, bioalgorithms like this you've just seen, and I was thinking how to include this into the actual discourse, and made a concept for a stunning new project which is called Superficial Intelligence, coming up this year, hopefully together with Stefan Lucinger. And this concept is a reflection about this belief in, or this techno-positivistic approach, as Paul likes to call it, and I really like this description. Yeah, it's made like an oracle, and it's quite democratic, because the decision is like a phase control situation, but the decision is made by, as I said, a bioalgorithm, which is truly, also you cannot pay it.
No, but it has the insight of presence, and as you might see now in the back or later, the oracle is also a creature of the sea. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows, but it's okay.
Well, we will see.
We'll see.
What decides our future?
Yeah, we will see.
Is it AI or is it SI?
Yeah, or is it EI, also entertaining intelligence, because AI can not only be used for useful purposes, but also for
playful purposes if you are lucky. So you can try just to play with it. That's what I try from time to time.
As shown in the next video. Give me your
okay,
egg.
that's the last.
Okay, thank you, Paul, for this stunning performance at Künstlerhaus. It actually was during the last month, so it's pretty actual.
Recent.
And we'll see what more is to come during the next year, where the art world will turn until next art's birthday.
Yeah, but what is 1 year in the lifespan of art, as you know? So see you soon for the next celebration.
Yeah, thanks for having us, and yeah, we'll see where art will turn during the next year, but I'm sure it won't be anything positive. So welcome to the jungle.
Good luck.
5 minutes.